Hi there, my name's Julia, and today we're going to be discussing Question the Author, which is a literary analysis tool that is great to use in the classroom to help students start thinking about what they're reading. Before we start this presentation, I want you guys to start thinking kind of in the back of your head, how do you know if you found a good source, and what is the best articles or sources to use in the classroom to help your students succeed? Let's jump right in. First off, let's discuss what is questioning the author. So questioning the author is a literary analysis tool that gets your students thinking about the text they're reading. A lot of times when students are reading, they'll read through a text or a paragraph quickly and they won't really process what the article is saying or what the author is trying to tell them. So using this process really breaks down the reading process and helps your students focus on what the author is trying to tell them about what they're reading. Questioning the author is used to, or questioning the author provides students with questions that really guide their reading. It's used to evaluate how well a section of text stands out on its own, and students can look at the author's intent, his craft, and his clarity. A lot of times when you're questioning the author, you're not going to give your students a full chapter of reading. You really just want to break it down into a small paragraph or just a snippet of the whole article. And if the author has done a good job, you should be able to answer some questions about his intent for his writing, even with just a little bit of the paper. So let's kind of discuss how it's used in the classroom. So first we'll have to find an article. It has to be interesting and engaging to the students. Break it down and kind of find clear stopping points and good sections of the text to analyze. Then you'll create questions for your students to think about and then answer. Ask your students to read and work through the questions that you prepared. It's pretty simple. Let's see. Oh, I didn't mean to go back. There we go. Let's go ahead and give it a try. So I'm going to go ahead and read this little snippet of an article out loud, and then we're going to go ahead and discuss some questions I've prepared. Okay. Extinction risks from climate change are expected not only to increase, but to accelerate for every degree rise in the global temperatures. The signal of climate change induced extinctions will become increasingly apparent if we do not act now to limit future climate change. That's a pretty heavy little paragraph there. Let's go ahead and break it down and answer some questions. Okay, first question. What is the author trying to tell you? Well, if we go back and read through this again, we can tell right away that it's about extinction and climate change. What are hints from the text that tell us what the author is trying to tell us? All right, extinction risks from climate change are expected not only to increase, but to accelerate. So this is saying that extinction is going to increase because of climate change. And then let's go down some. The signal of climate change induced extinctions will become increasingly apparent. Yep, it's restating it again. We'll know climate change is occurring because we'll start seeing more and more extinctions. I've kind of summarized the answer here. Extinction of species are expected as the global temperatures rise. That's what the author's trying to tell us. And then why is the author telling us that? Well, if we look back at our little text here, I think mainly the author's purpose is trying to inform us, but then it's this word right here that interests me. If we do not act now, we need to act now to limit climate change. It's a call to action. And the author is trying to inform us and call to change. The author wants us to change our ways to limit climate change. And was it said clearly? Does it make sense? This article, I would argue no. I think if you weren't dissecting this article or paragraph word for word, it doesn't quite make sense. There's a lot of big words, and you really have to think about what it's saying. I would restate it in my notes to say, let's just rephrase it section by section. Extinction risks from climate change are expected not only to increase, but to accelerate for every degree rise in global temperatures. We could rephrase that to say, as temperatures increase, we'll see more extinctions. And then moving on, the signal of climate change induced extinctions will become increasingly apparent if we do not act. We need to act to limit climate change let me try again. The signal of climate change induced extinctions will become increasingly apparent. More and more species will become extinct as climate change continues to progress, and we need to change to prevent future climate change. There we go. That sounds a little bit better. So it's a little bit more clear when you kind of break it down and kind of rethink. And then I've kind of summarized it here. I would say reword for some clarity and simplification. It kind of takes a lot of time to break it down and restate in a way that makes sense to you and that you can understand. All right, this is just a simple simple template to use if you're going to use questioning the author in your class. We simply put some of the questions here on the side, and then we've given the students places to put their answers and their thinking. There's not really a wrong way to do this. It can be used as an individual level, a group level, or a whole class level, as long as you're providing students with opportunities to think deeper about the text. This is a great tool to use. Thank you for listening to this video. I want you guys to be thinking of how can you apply this tool in your own classroom. I use an example from science because that's my content area, but this is a tool that really can be used across the board at any subject that you may be teaching. So I want as homework for you guys to think about this and maybe leave a comment about how you can use this in your classroom. Thank you.